Here's your puzzle of the week. It's white to play and win. Now this requires some deep calculations. So it's taken from the game Andrew Ledger, international master from England, playing against Chopra Manmay, also from England. This was played in the British Championship held in Liverpool this summer. Well, let's take a look in detail at what's going on. At this end of the board, you can see that black threatens to take this bishop, and that will be checkmate. And not to mention, you know, if white defended here, then there's rook e2. So basically white needs something absolutely forcing at the other end of the board. Otherwise it's disastrous. And you can see that black's king is staggering around in the middle. So you've got to find a way to somehow corner black's king. But you've got to do it with forcing moves, so that usually means checks. But you can't just check randomly. So if, for example, e5 check, then the king slips away. Like this. And then it's black's turn. So what should white play? Well, queen b4 check is the strongest move, and that was played in the game. Now, there are lots of options for black here, but actually, really there's only one that keeps the game going for any length of time. So for example, king e6 allows queen e7 mate. And if the king goes this way, then, well, once the rook gets involved, then that's fatal. And if the king comes up, then that gets chased around here, for example. And, well, okay, that's similar to the game. But so let's have a look at the game. So queen b4, c5, queen b6 check. Now the king can't go back. That's mate in a couple, like that. So the king has to step up. Queen c7, I mean, this is forced. It's really the only option that white has. And again, if the king steps back, then queen e7. So king takes pawn. This was the game continuation. And queen e7 check. Now, it looks like this is the end of the road, because if the king comes to d4, then queen e3 is mate. Likewise, king f3, queen e3 mate. So black has to play bishop e6. I mean, it looks crazy, but this is a very clever defense. So this is what happened in the game. And now you've got to get it right. In the game, Ledger played queen takes bishop, which looks like it must be winning with this king getting chased all over the place. But the game continued. King f3, queen e3, and the king escaped. And now black should be winning. Game went like this. And incredibly, the king is okay. And then there's, well, you've got to watch out for this move. This is what happened. And now the simplest way to win is just to play rook takes knight. And white's king is in massive trouble and black's king is safe. So what's the difference? Basically, so after bishop e6 check, you can see the king escaped via g4. If you don't put the bishop in the way, then queen e3, you can see the bishop blocks the king, and that's checkmate. So how does white win after bishop e6? You can't take it. How does white win here? In fact, a very simple move. Queen takes rook. And white is now a piece up. And there are no threats at the other end of the board because the queen, well, I mean, once the rook has gone, it's the end of the show. And there's no rook e2 check either. So Well, for example, bishop takes knight, queen f4 mate. That's the threat. Queen f4 mate. And if, let's say, g5, well, remember white is a piece up. So, I mean, there are many, many ways to win, but in fact, this is the most deadly, just doing everything with checks. And yeah, if the king steps up, then the rook finally joins in. That's fantastic. Remember, there are no threats really at the other end of the board. So white with an extra piece can even take his time. So after this, for example, knight e4 just sets up a winning attack. Of course, if you want to be very dull, you could exchange queens again. But I'm just showing it's a very, very easy win for white. So there we go. It involves a long piece of calculation, but it's pretty forcing. Yeah, by the way, in this position, king e5 instead of c5 would be similar to the game. That's why I didn't show it to you first of all. There we go. It's just that pawn is there and not there. So, quick recap. Queen b4, c5. This is basically the main line. And here, instead of queen takes bishop check, queen takes rook is the winning move. If you're very confused by that and you want to replay that solution again, or indeed the whole game, which was a pretty crazy game actually, then do click through to chesspuzzle.net. You'll find the link in the video description and in the comments as well. Thanks for watching.